Welcome to Level Up with Kia Baxter. Well, you'll discover purpose is a lifelong journey and requires an individual's commitment to self-development. Join me as I share my personal stories and tools on how you can constantly go to the next level. Welcome to episode 7 of Level Up with Kia Baxter. As you know, I've been talking about purpose for probably the last 2 podcasts, and it's just been so fun because purpose is one of those things that is definitely near and dear to my heart, because I just believe that when people have a sense of purpose, they know what they're supposed to be doing in life and what God has created them to do, that they really can be fulfilled. They can feel fulfilled. They can be happy. They can be full of joy. But there are so many different layers to it. And so I've decided to keep going with this purpose series. People have really been enjoying it, and I've gotten some amazing feedback. So I just want to thank all of you who have been listening to this podcast and really enjoying it and giving me the feedback that I need. This is something that is definitely new to me, and it's going very, very well. So I'm just thankful for all of you who have been listening and will continue to listen as well. So today, we've been talking about purpose, and the last one was just really helping people to overcome some of those obstacles, because people always want to know, man, how do you keep going in the midst of trials and tribulations on, the path of trying to get to what you were created to do? It's so many things that go wrong during those times when you're really trying to fulfill purpose. And, so that last episode really helped a lot of people to overcome some of those obstacles. But today, we're going to talk about one of my other favorite things when it pertains to purpose, and that is legacy. The reason why we really want to fulfill our purpose, discover our purpose. If you don't know how to discover your purpose, you can go back to one of the episodes where I think the very first one was talking about how to discover your purpose. But if you don't know how to do that, go back to that one. This one is going to be talking about legacy. Purpose has everything to do with the legacy that you leave behind. You were created with great thought in mind. You were the way you think, the way your creativity is set up, the way you do things, the way your style is. All of that stuff is not just by happenstance. It's because it was a design. It was designed for you to be that way, and it's pertaining to the legacy that you will leave behind. And so you never have to feel like I'm different, or I want to be like everybody else, and it doesn't look the same. You never want to feel discouraged because of that, because it's not supposed to look like everybody else's. You're not supposed to speak like everybody else. You're not supposed to handle things the way that everybody else is doing. You're supposed to create something new. I had so much fun. I was invited to a speaking engagement over the past weekend, and it was a mother's daughter's hat brunch, and I got a chance to talk about legacy. And one of the things that the affirmations that I gave them was I had everybody in the room to say, I was born a legend. And for the mothers to say, I birthed a legend. And I don't think we really look at ourselves as being like legendary. And, we only look at celebrities as creating something amazing in the earth. But if you've deposited some positivity, something different, something that is going to help others into this world, you are a legend. You are amazing. You were created to be amazing, and you will continue to be amazing, even in those times when you don't feel like it. So you've got to constantly confirm to yourself that I was born a legend. You were born a legend. You are a legend. I am a legend. I will leave something in this earth that will be remembered, that will be set apart, that will be different. And so I'm always thinking that way. And so people look at me and sometimes they're like, oh, how are you even making it through this? Especially people who may know something about what it is that I may have went through. And they're like, how are you still holding up through that situation? Even when I share my stories of my past, they want to know, how did you stay so resilient, and how are you still doing it to this day? And it's because I'm always reminded that God had me in mind, and through the good, the bad, and the ugly, I'm still that person. I'm still the person that he called me to be in spite of. And so you've got to always remember that in spite of whatever you've done, whatever you've been through, you've got to know that you were still created to be that legend that God formed even before you were formed in your mother's womb. Okay. And so we're going to talk about legend. Let's talk about what a legend is, or I'm sorry, not legend, legacy. We're going to talk about what a legacy is. Legacy. The definition of legacy is something that is transmitted or received from an ancestor from the past. And so, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's something that is passed down from generation to generation, from your grandchildren, from your to your children, to your grandchildren, and the cycle continues. And so we want to make sure that we're not creating the same cycles. I think in the last podcast, I talked about getting rid of those things that don't serve us any purpose, that, our moms just did just because it's what grandmama did, or, our dads did because that's just what his dad did. And it doesn't serve us any purpose. But paying attention to that and saying, you know what, I'm going to stop this right now. I'm going to stop these cycles or these things that are really hindering me. My thing is, if you want to stop generational curses or cycles, you got to stop participating in them. I'm going to say that again. If you want to stop generational curses or cycles, you have to stop participating in them. So let's be careful about what it is that we're transmitting or what it is that we're carrying on from generation to generation. What is it that you want to leave behind? You've always got to think about that, right? A great leader is the person that is really concerned about what it is that they leave behind. A great leader leaves behind something that is great in the earth, something that is different, something that is positive, something that is going to change the trajectory of their children's lives and their grandchildren's lives. And one of the, I know that a lot of people have heard me say that a whole lot, because that actually comes from scripture. I forget the scripture. I had it pulled up. I'm going to come back to that though. But there's a scripture in the Bible that I think is Proverbs. It talks about leaving behind great legacy for your grandchildren and your children. That's what we were created to do. Okay. So have that in mind about what it is that whenever you do something. I've gotten to the point in my life now, last year, you've heard me, if you've been listening and following, you've heard me talk about how last year I had all this opportunity to travel from state to state to Hawaii and do some amazing things. And then I reached a point where I just didn't want to do a lot of that stuff anymore, because it became just like the same stuff over and over again. And then I also saw that a lot of it really wasn't making the impact that I would have liked to see. I would have liked to see something different. People say something different, and really lives really transformed. And that's what I'm all about. And so now I'm at the point where I don't even go everywhere everybody asks me to come. I just accept what it is that I see fit for the vision that I have for my life, and the vision can always change. Always be mindful of that. Last year was very necessary for my journey and my purpose discovery. Okay. It was very necessary. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about what I wanted and what I didn't want. And it was a very successful, amazing year for me. But now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, I just want to take this up a notch, and I want to do something that is really impactful and something that is really going to teach people how to go to the next level. I'm one of those people that really always ask questions about every single thing. I want to know, how did you do this? How do we create this generational wealth that we're deserving of? God says that he came to give us life and give it to us more abundantly. How do we obtain this abundant life? And so I want to be that person that really can provide those answers to people that they need. And so I've collabed with a lot of people. I talked about this in the last one as well, as far as me really shifting my business and shifting my life and really wanting to be that example and do something that creates the legacy that I want to leave behind. And so do what you envision, do those things that really line up with your vision. All right. And I think actually I'm getting a little ahead of myself because that's actually one of the points, but let's be mindful of those things. Before I get into the points on how to create legacy, let's talk about those legacy blockers, those things that are really hindering us and blocking our vision. All right. One of the things that a lot of people deal with is the lack of focus. And trust me, I definitely deal with the lack of focus a lot, because it's so many things to do. And it's like 24 hours in one day. And sometimes those days seem like they go by so fast. It's like, wait a minute, where did the time go? Because you can get caught up spending time doing one thing. And it's like, my to-do list says that I need to do this and this and this, but this one thing has me occupied. But it is a blockage to you creating legacy if you do not stay focused. I know that now we live in a world where it's all about social media. And so you wake up in the morning and you look at social media, or you're thinking about what it is that you want to post on social media. And it's like, all of that stuff can be very time consuming to you really being focused on what it is that you need to be focused on how to, really fulfilling that purpose and, creating that person. Because it really comes with creating legacy starts with you. It starts with yourself, your inner self, and you creating new habits, doing new things that is going to develop you in a way. And so sometimes those things, is not just about you reading a book. Sometimes those things may be something that is more time consuming, like, and investing in yourself, like going to therapy or investing in an amazing workshop or conference that is going to help you as well. So, you want to stay focused on those things and not things that are going to hinder you and that are time blockers as well. So, social media, and I've fell victim to this as well, where I can sit there and you don't even know where the time went. You've just been on there looking at, videos, and, I love to look at the videos because sometimes they have me cracking up, and I would just keep scrolling. And I'm just in there having a laughing party when I know that I need to be doing something else, that I need to, be focused on my to-do list and what I need to do for that day to reach my goals, right? And so lack of focus is definitely a legacy blocker, and a lot of people are having issues with that right now. Something will get hard and then we'll just jump to the next thing because we don't want to do that, and because it's too time consuming or it takes a lot of work or whatever, and we're not putting the effort into that one thing. Don't do that. If you know that there's something that you need to do that is going to help you to get to your next level of where you see your vision going, you work on that thing. You work on it and you finish it until the end. Don't stop and go to the next thing. Don't get ahead of yourself. Go and do what you have envisioned. I'm going to give you an example. One of the things that I know that I need to be doing this year, and I was saying that I was going to do it last year and the year before last, what is writing a book. And that has been like, it's not hard for me to write, but it's my focus has been off. My focus hasn't been, all the way together. It's been on other stuff. Oh, I need to do this speaking engagement, or sometimes you're really trying to figure out, okay, what's the next, venture so that I can make some money or whatever. And you're not carving out that time, that you needed to do. But this year I made it. I said, you know what? I set a date and I said, I am going to complete this year. So however much time I need during the day to just write a chapter, a paragraph, whatever it is, I've set that time to make sure that it happens, because this has to happen. If I say that I want to go to the next level and I want to level up and keep going to the next level, this is something that I have to do for myself. Yours may not be writing a book, but it's definitely something else, because what I do know about purpose and fulfilling legacy is that it's going to take work. It's not just going to be relying off of a natural ability that you have, because we naturally have giftings and talents, but that doesn't always get us to the next level. It'll work for a little while, but after a while, you've got to cultivate that. And that's actually one of our points, the next one, but you've got to do some work. There's some work that goes into it. And so for me, I've made it my point business to say, you know what, this year I'm going to be more focused on the things that I know that I need to get done so that I can go to the next level. Because what I do know is once I write my book, I can do tours, and I can do more at that point. Okay. So the first legacy blocker is lack of focus. The second one is living for clout or the approval of others is a bad thing. That's a blocker. That's a legacy blocker. If you are always thinking about, oh man, like, what is everybody going to think? I'm going to wear this, or I'm going to post this on social media because it's going to look good because it's a photo op, and, oh, it just looks good, and my hair is on fleek and my clothes are on fleek, and I'm just, I'm out here living my best life as it appears on social media. Like, no, don't live that lie. Be authentically who you are. You don't have to live for the clout. That's, that Cardi B song that's out right now. You'll do anything for clout. Okay, that was just like a little sidebar, but that was, but yeah, if you're out here just trying to live for clout, or do it because everybody else is doing it, or just doing it for the approval of others, that will destroy your legacy, because you're not walking in your authenticity and who God has really called you to be. Remember that purpose is all about doing something new in the earth. Now, it may not be new in terms of an idea that somebody else has. Like, it may not be, because I'm a life coach and a motivational inspirational speaker, and there are thousands and probably millions, I don't know, of those out here. But there is nobody that can do it the way that Kia can do it, because of the way that God designed it. There's a creativity that I have that nobody else have. There's a thought process that I have that nobody else has. There's the way that I execute things that nobody else has. And so you can be out here trying to do it for IG, do it for the gram, do it for Facebook or whatever social media outlet you use, or even for the approval of your parents or your family, because it's not always just about social media, because sometimes people really try to really impress their family and their parents as well. And you cannot do it for those reasons. Man, you will get burned out and you will lose sight of who you are. And remember that purpose is God's original intent for your life, not anybody else's life. You've got to live your life for you. It is God's original intent for your life. Even when it comes to, and I know some people that listen to this this is not all single people. It's for people who are married as well, and now the dynamic changes when you get married. Of course, you've got to have these conversations, but make sure even in that you don't lose your identity and who you were called to be and what you're supposed to be doing. You've got to really, really make sure that you say, you know what, this is what I feel that I'm supposed to be doing, and go after it, because what you don't want to do is live with any type of regret and say that, man, I did this because they said that it wasn't going to be possible. No, you do it. And sometimes when you are stepping out and doing something different, sometimes that's going to cause you to have to walk alone. I've definitely been in those seasons where I've had to walk alone. I've had to leave things that I was familiar with, relationships. I even left my church because it was just different. It was different from what I envisioned and what I saw for my life. And that was a hard thing for me to do, but it was very necessary for me to go to the next level, because I had to get to the point where I had to listen to my spirit, and I had to listen to what I was feeling, and I had to really figure out how to act on it. When you've got all these different voices around you and these different voices in your head and all of these different images, like one of the things that the Bible talks about is guarding your ear gate, your eye gate, and then watching the things that you say out of your mouth, your confessions. And so you've got to even be careful in that season, especially when you're just freshly starting. You've got to be careful about what it is that you are allowing into your eye gate, what it is that you are listening to, the people, the voices that are in your head, the people that are in your head. You cannot do anything for clout or the approval of others. That is the biggest blockage to your legacy and what you want to leave behind. Okay. And so the last thing is definitely, and of course there are more, I'm always going to say that, but this is just 3 things that I feel like is a very important too, that will hinder you from creating that legacy, is holding on to your past hurts and your anger and any type of anger or bitterness. You cannot hold grudges. Man, I can't stress that enough, because people just think, you can just go about life and now you're doing well, or you're doing something different, and I'm gonna create this legacy. They gonna see that I'm not that person that they said that I was, or they're gonna see that I'm doing well. They hated on me and blah 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 blah. No, you've got to let that stuff go, because one of the things that I realize about people is that they are whatever it is that they're going through, the hate, the jealousy, and whatever they've done to you, that's their own journey. That really has nothing to do with you. That's their journey. And so the saying is true: hurt people hurt people. And sometimes it's not even on purpose. It's just that's what they spew out, because that's all they know. That's all they're capable of knowing, or they're capable of, for the place that they're at right then and there. And so you're chasing, or you're holding on to somebody who is not even on your level, or a thought or an idea that's not even on your level or where you're trying to go. So listen, if you are holding on to any type of hurt, any type of grudge, any type of bitterness, I want you to woosah right now. Take a deep breath and let it out and say, I forgive you. Listen, you can say this out loud. This is actually a practice that I use in my coaching sessions with my people, with my clients. And I want you to release it. I want you to release them from your mind. And I want you to verbally say, I forgive you. Whoever that person is, I want you to say, I forgive you. And listen, I know firsthand how hard that is. Trust me, I have been in some crazy stuff with some people who have done me so wrong. And I have had to say, I forgive you. And it was because the reason why this is so important is because you'll find yourself really trying to do just kind of like the same thing. It goes hand in hand with number 2, your legacy blocker. Well, you'll find yourself really trying to prove a point. And that will throw you off of your path, and you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You start doing it for the wrong reason. Now it's not coming from a genuine place, and people can feel that. So if you are still angry, people are going to feel your anger. You're going to spew out anger. I remember hearing like messages from like pastors and, speakers before, where they would be, it's like they'll be trying to motivate people, but it was angry the whole time. You're trying to motivate people, but you're fussing at them at the same time, because of your own anger and your own bitterness and whatever you've been through. And you don't want to be that person. You want to be the person that can say that you're truly healed and that everything that you do is coming from a genuine place, not from a bitter place. I can speak now about, the abusive relationship that I was in. I can speak about it because I'm free from it. I'm not an abused woman. I'm not a victim. I am a victor. I overcame that situation, and it strengthened me, and it made me want to go harder for the purpose that's on my life and the calling that's on my life. It made me just, fly even more and soar even more. And one of the things that I always used to say, I hadn't said this in a long time, but I never understood why people say, make your haters your motivators. My saying is, a hater can't motivate me. I motivate my haters. How can a hater motivate you? If they're a hater, they're not on your level. There's something that's going on with them that they need healing on, right? Like I said before, it's their own journey. And so when you say I'm making my hater your motivator, now it's like a nana boo boo type situation where you like, you know what, you said I wasn't gonna do this and I did it, and nana boo boo, I've got up one up on you. That's too much. No, you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for, like I said before, your children and your grandchildren. First of all, you're doing it for God, who created you and is constantly seeking after you to do what it is that he's called you to do. He's constantly giving us chance after chance. Even once we mess up, he's constantly sending people to help us. He's constantly giving us confirmation on what we're supposed to be doing. He's constantly showing us over and over again that we are worthy and that we are good enough, even though we don't feel like it. And so, first of all, you're doing it for him, as a service unto him. And then secondly, you're doing it for your children and your grandchildren, and you're breaking those. I almost don't like to say generational curses anymore, but that's exactly what it is. Because I guess because I grew up hearing it so much, and I felt like people was just saying it to say it, everybody was just saying it like, break those generational curses. And it's like, okay, so how do you do it? And so I'm giving you practical steps on how you do it. And I call it cycles as well. It's curses and it's cycles. And some of that stuff, some of them have not been passed down. Some of them we create on our own. Some of those bad habits that we even have that we start passing down to our children as well. So these are legacy blockers. So you want to before we can get into how to become or how to build your legacy, we've got to get rid of those things that are blocking us from creating legacy. And the first one, like I said, I'm going to recap. It's only 3. Of course, there are more, and I'm sure you can even think of more for yourself. Personalize this thing. The first one is lack of focus. The second one is living for clout or the approval of others. And the third one is holding on to past hurt, anger, and bitterness. And I hope that you really woosawed and you really took that deep breath and said, I forgive you to whatever person has hurt you, whatever situation, whatever circumstance you've been through that's causing you to, just be bitter. And you may not be dealing with this. It's just for people who are dealing with it, some type of anger. I had to let go of my pride and realize that I was holding on to some anger, even just as recently as like last year, I thought that I was healed from some things from my church, and I wasn't. And I had to let that go. I really had to let it go because it didn't have anything to do with me and it wasn't serving me any purpose, right? For my next level. So those are the legacy blockers. So now let's get into, I'm going to give you 7 ways to build a powerful legacy. All right. 7 ways to build powerful legacy. Actually, number 7 is my favorite number. I use it for everything. I absolutely love the number 7. Okay. So the first one, and some of this stuff I did kind of mention in when I was just talking about the legacy blockers, but we're going to dive deeper into it. So the first one is serve. Okay. 7 ways to build a powerful legacy. You have to serve. You have to serve people. We are, a lot of people are just looking to do things because they're looking for the outcome, like, okay, what am I going to get out of this? What's next? You have to serve people, and you have to do it with joy, and you have to do it with humility. Okay. My mission as a leader a great leader is to make sure that I'm serving everybody that's around me, even the people who are serving me. So even my team that is serving me and they volunteer and do things for me, I make sure that I serve them as well. How can I give back to them? How can I impart into them as well? How can this be an exchange of service? I'm always thinking about that. And it's not looking for anything in return. I'm not looking for anything in return. I just want to serve you. How can I serve you? Okay. So make sure you serve it. A lot of times I know that for people who do attend church, church is very big on that, serving, making sure that you plug into a ministry, but it does not have to just be ministry. I had a great time with Quest Communities on, when was that? Probably like 2 weeks ago. I went to, it was like a community cleanup day. I absolutely love doing stuff like that. My background is service. It's always been in service. I used to work for Hands on Atlanta, and we used to do service community projects where we would beautify. We would call it Beautification Day, and we used to go and paint over some of the old paint that was chipping off. It may have been like on the playground or, in the community building or whatever. And we would plant flowers and just and clean up the community. And I love doing stuff like that. And so with Quest Communities, I definitely did that 2 weeks ago, where we went into one of the inner city neighborhoods and we raked all of the dirt, the unnecessary dirt off the ground, and picked up trash. And man, that street looked so much better by the time we finished. It was just so awesome. And because what they're doing is revitalizing that community. And I think it was from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. we were out there, and it was so cool to see the people in the community come up to us and say, "Oh, thank you so much. It looks so much better," And so make sure you serve. I absolutely love to serve, because you really do reap what you sow, and you never know how it's going to come back to you. You never know, but that is just a law of the land, is that you reap what you sow. It is so true. When you serve others genuinely, it's different when you serve with motives, because, people can feel that, people can feel like, okay, they've got some other motives. But when you serve with a genuine heart and you do it with joy, and it's not out of anger and bitterness and trying to prove a point or whatever, you really do see a return on your investment of your time or whatever it is. Even if you invest money into something or organization, serve with joy. Okay. Number 2, cultivate your gifts. I kind of said this, but this is cultivate your gifts and your crafts. Make sure you cultivate your gifts and your crafts. There are things that, like I said before, we are naturally born with and gifted with that, we sometimes can take for granted. Like if you're a great speaker, you're a great motivator. I feel like I've always been doing this. People always ask me, "Kia, when did you get started as a life coach? Kia, when did you get started as an inspirational speaker?" And I always say, man, I've been doing this all my life. For as long as I was talking, I can remember me being that voice of reasoning for people around me. And I would say, "No, girl, you shouldn't do that because, this is going to take your value down." Or, I would say stuff like that as a kid, like, "You're better than that. You're greater than that. You're amazing." I used to always affirm people, even when I was a kid. So that is a natural gift that I have. That's a natural thing that I was born with, that God, imparted in me. And then also my mom cultivated as well, because she was always positive around me. She was the one that introduced me to affirmations when I was a little kid. She would put them on my mirror, and I would say every day, "I am beautiful. I am capable of passing all of my classes," or whatever it was. And then I got to the point where I would just started personalizing and creating them on my own. But I had to get to the point where I had to cultivate my innate gift, my natural born gift. I had to start doing some reading. I had to start doing some writing. I had to start creating lessons and creating things that would be definitely helpful to people. When you just operate off of your natural gift, sometimes that runs out. It can run out, and you've got to have, something different to say, something different to do, something different, something creative, because it is going to take that for you to keep leveling up, for you to keep going to the next level. You've got to keep developing yourself, cultivating it, perfecting it as long as you live. So that means reading more. That means studying more. That means being prepared for when you have something to do. If you've got a speaking engagement or whatever it is, I say speaking engagement because that's my field, but whatever it is that you do, you've got to be prepared and you've got to know what you're talking about and study it. A lot of times people have me to host events, and it's so interesting that I do that, because I never would have thought that I would have been able to host a whole event, but now it just comes so natural to me. And one of the things that I have to do is when I come, I've got to be prepared. They may not always give me all of the information on each person that I'm introducing, but I've got to read up on them so that I can be sure I know what I'm talking about when I introduce this person. I can be sure that I have things to say, even as I'm hosting during that event. I'm listening to what they're saying so that I can repeat some of the stuff that they've said back. So making sure that you cultivate your gift and be prepared. Some things come natural to us, and that's great, but God didn't mean for us to just sit on that gift. He wants us to keep cultivating it so that we can keep going to the next level. Okay. Number 3, seize opportunities that line up with your vision. All right. So there is no opportunity that is too big or too small. Sometimes we don't get started because we think, oh, you know what? I need this grand, big speaking engagement that's going to give me the qualification that I need. No, it doesn't always. It doesn't happen that way. When everybody needs an opportunity to just get started. So don't make those excuses. You start on what it is that you see. So if you put out there that you are a speaker and some, small organization calls you and it's a room full of 10 people, you go and get some good footage of you standing up there speaking to the people and empowering the people. Okay. That is how I got started. That was my start. It started small. And next thing you know, I was getting calls from, people who wanted me to speak in LA. So you've got to know that it's important for you to seize opportunities that line up, every opportunity that lines up with your vision. Okay. Especially when you're first getting started. I remember this girl telling me no, somebody called her and they really wanted her to come and speak. And she told them no, because it was that organization is too small. I need something bigger so that I can get some qualifications and I can put it on my resume. And I was like, girl, what are you talking about? What are you saying right now? You need to go speak to those people and you need to empower them, because guess what? They're still people. They still have word of mouth, and they're going to tell somebody about you. And then next thing you know, that's where your next opportunity, big opportunity, is going to come from. Every time that I go and I speak life into somebody, every time that I coach, I always have an expectation that the next opportunity is going to be lined up for me, because I gave it my all and I went prepared and I killed it, So make sure that you seize opportunities that line up with your vision. Remember earlier in this podcast, I said to you that I'm at the point where I'm not just going to do something just to be doing it. It has to line up with where I see that I'm going. And I know I have a clear vision of where I'm going and what I want to do now. So I'm not just taking any opportunity, but if a small opportunity comes, it's fine. If it lines up with my purpose and what it is that I want to do, I'm going to take it. Okay. So, seize opportunities that line up with your vision. Doesn't matter how big or small, you build on those. Okay. Number 4, don't waste time on people who won't listen or who don't believe in your vision. You cannot waste time. When you are building your legacy, you cannot waste time giving all of your gems to people who don't want to listen or don't believe in what you have going on. Okay. You can't waste that type of time. You want to go with people who are in direct alignment of what it is that you want to do, who believe in what it is that you want to do, and you go after it. Okay. Don't waste time on people who won't listen or who don't believe in what you're trying to create. Okay. Number 5, always try to showcase your best self. Now, listen, we've got a lot of different selves. Okay. We've got the good, the irritated, the hungry, just a lot of different selves. Okay. And it can be very easy to show up different places. Just being irritated. I remember, man, I've been to so many women empowerment events, and you go in and the leader has a bad attitude because of something that somebody just did or something going wrong or whatever. And it's like, why would you decide to show me that part of yourself? Why would you decide to do that? No. You show me your best side. I've never met you before. I don't know who you are. All I know is what I see on social media, and what you're showing me right now is not the person that I see on social media. Okay. And you're supposed to be empowering, and I don't feel that right now. So always make sure, and let's not even say try. I'm going to rephrase that. Always showcase your best self, okay? Because all of us have sides to us that, we know somebody's not going to like, right? But you always want to make sure that you are presenting the best version of yourself. And it's not being fake, but it's just like if you have to go to work, your employer wants you to come in with the best attitude possible. It doesn't matter what it is that you went through before you walked in. Your kids was acting crazy. You just had to go off on them or something. I don't know. And you still have to walk into work with the positive attitude. I'm going to give you an example of that. I had an event this year, one of my Powerhouses Pray event, and there was a scheduling conflict. And so one of the room that we were supposed to have, somebody else was using it, but the other side really wasn't conducive to what it is that we were trying to do. And all the ladies was like, oh my goodness, how are we going to do this? How are we going to set up? So I called the manager and I was like, we can still use the other side, because at this point we don't have any option. We have about 30 ladies that's coming that RSVP. And so we've got to house them in here. But the other side, it just, like I said, it just wasn't conducive to what we were trying to do. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, we just got to make some changes. It's okay. But everybody around me was getting all rattled and, like, oh, how are we going to do this? How do you want us to set up the tables? How do you want us to blah, 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 blah. And I stayed calm. Of course, in my mind, initially, when the change happened, I was a little annoyed, like, oh my goodness, like, what are we going to do? But I said, you know what? I'm going to showcase my best self. And my best self is the patient Kia, the Kia that knows how to do conflict resolution. So let me go into my conflict resolution, and I'll worry about how this even happened later on. I don't need to worry about that right now. Right now, we have an event that's about to start in 20 minutes, and we need to make sure that it's set up properly, and we need to make sure that the atmosphere is positive and everybody's nerves and anger or frustration is gone before we start, right? And so I had to now step into the best version of myself, and the best version of myself is that I know that I can handle conflict very well, and I know how to, but I also do know that now it's not saying that I'm exempt, because I do know that there's a side of me that can get frustrated, of course, as well. But I chose to show up as my best self in that moment. And at the end of it, one of the girls came up to me and she was like, oh my goodness, I just want to thank you. And I just watched you the whole time. Now I already know that they're paying attention and they're watching and they're really trying to see, okay, what is Kia going to do in this situation? And she said, I just watched you the whole time, and you were graceful, and you were smiling like it's okay. You calmed everybody down. And she was like, thank you so much for that. That helped me to know what I need to do in different situations. And listen, I've done events so many times, and I've been to events where, I've seen people running all over the place and looking all crazy, and they supposed to be the person that's hosting it, and they fussing at people. And I'm like, yo, I never want to be that person ever. And so I had to show up as my best self. So make sure that if you're creating legacy and you're doing something different, that you show up as your best self, whatever it is that you're doing. Okay. Whatever the scenario may be for you, you show up as your best self. Because guess what? You're creating something and raising a standard that hasn't been done before. You're creating, if you're used to chaos or whatever around you and how your mom or your brother or your sister will handle it, you've now got to be that person that says, you know what? I'm not going to handle it like that. I'm going to show up as the best person that I know I can show up as. Okay. And I hope that makes sense to you guys. All right. So number 6 is you can't force legacy. So don't force it. All right. You have to be genuine about helping and making a difference. It has to come from a genuine place. You can't force it. Although I know that I say a lot, I do think about what legacy I want to leave in the earth. I think about that a lot. I think about, okay, who is the person that I want to be? I think about it, right? But then I don't force anything that I'm not, right? I just think about it, I visualize it, and then I actualize it. You know what? I want to be known as a person that can handle, like I just go back to the story just now, that can handle conflict very well, that is very calm and patient with people, and not this, person that's always razzle every time something happens. I think about, man, what would people say about me? What would people say? I think about that, but I don't force it. Because sometimes I have some off days. Okay. Sometimes I have off days. So it's not like this thing that is super forced, but I'm mindful of it. I'm mindful of who I say that I want to show up as and who I say that I want to be in the earth. And I just actualize it, and I check myself. Purpose and legacy is all about, like I said, it starts with you. So all of this is about self-development, and it starts with you. So you've got to do that inner work, that inner whatever that you need to do in order to get you to that place where you really are making a difference and people can look at you. When that girl came up to me after that event and said that meant the world to me, because in my mind, I already knew that though. I already knew that, Kia, if you just stay calm, they're going to pay attention to it. And by default, they're going to have this thing in their mind, the next event or the next thing that they do, that where they're going to say, you know what would Kia do? I'm going to do it like how Kia did it. That's how I think in my mind. But what would she do? And that makes me feel good. At the end of the day, it makes me feel good when somebody says, I did this. I was going to do this. And I was going to, curse those people out because they didn't have our stuff right. And I was going to do this way. But because I saw how you handle it, and I saw how effective it was, and how I saw the atmosphere be changed and peaceful in the midst of it, I'm going to change my attitude and the way that I do things. So don't force it. Don't, overly be like, go out there like, I want to be this, so I'm going to be this. Like, no, just be it. Just be, just do. Okay. Just be, just do. That can be a thing, honey. Just be, just do. Okay. And number 7, go hard for your legacy, for your purpose, but don't burn yourself out. Because sometimes we can go so hard in the pain. Man, I gotta go volunteer for this. And, it depends on what legacy you want to leave, right? But sometimes you can just go so hard. I remember when I was doing teen ministry, when I was over teen ministry, because I'm also a youth advocate. I love empowering the youth. I love it. And I used to be so in love with teen ministry that I mean, it was my life. It was everything to me. I was always planning. I was always, training up kids, doing leadership programs and doing all kinds of stuff. I was always doing something with those kids and for those kids that it burned me out. It burned me out. I didn't even have a life of my own because I was always doing something with kids. I mean, house calls. Parents would call me when their kids was acting crazy. I would literally get out of my bed and go to the house and counsel them. Like, it was bananas, but it was good, but it was bananas because I didn't have my own life. I didn't balance it out. And I remember feeling so tired, like, man, I got to get away. And I went to LA to visit one of my homegirls, and I didn't even want to do anything. I literally just laid there for like a whole week. Like, I did some stuff, but I didn't really do what I really thought I was going to go and have a good time. We were going to party. We were going to do some things, and I didn't do anything. I just wanted to lay down and go to sleep. And literally, I slept so well when I was there because I needed it, because I was burning myself out. And when I came back, I said, I will never do this again. I've got to balance it. So go hard for your legacy. Yes, but don't burn yourself out. Recognize and realize that you need a break sometimes. You need a break even from hearing about your legacy and your purpose. Sometimes you just got to even get all that stuff off of your mind and do something different. I don't really do it anymore, but movies used to do that for me. And, I would just look on demand or whatever to find a movie so that my mind can just completely be off of what it is that the next move that I needed to make or the next job that I needed to do or whatever. But now I think it's vacationing. I love to get away. Like, Jesus, if I can get away all the time, I would, Lord. But yeah, getting away from me is at peace. And water, I love water. I'm a very scenic person. So I need that time where I can just get away and not have to think about work, and if I choose to, I can, but it's not this pressure, but I can come back with fresh ideas, freshly ready to work, freshly ready to do some stuff and execute my dreams. Okay. So these are 10 ways that you can build, powerful ways that you can build your legacy. I know, some of it sounds like it can sound like, what? That's it? Yeah. Like, literally, these are some things that you can do to create the legacy that you want to create in this earth. And if you notice, all this stuff is really about self-development. It's about you developing yourself and you making sure that you put in the work for you so that you can leave behind something that is different. So you can disrupt some of these generational cycles, all of them, the ones that are not serving you any purpose and your family any purpose. You can disrupt them. You can disrupt it by you putting in the work. It only takes one person, and that's you. You were created to be different. You were created to have the heart, the mind of God, and to really be the voice, maybe not a voice, but just even in your actions for your generation and generations to come. And so, that's exciting to me. When I think about that, when I think about the fact that God gave me the power to leave behind something that is bigger than me, something that is going to continue, even if it's just words or sayings or belief systems or whatever. Like, if I could just leave something behind and people say, you know what? This is going to continue because Kia created it. That makes me feel good right now while I'm on this earth. I'm living in my legacy. But then, once I go on, pass away or whatever, the legacy will live on. It will continue to live on. And for me, like I said, that's exciting to me. That's exciting that I get to do that God chose me to do that. But he also chose you to do that too. So let's put in the work. Let's get it done. Like, let's do this. Like, we really can create legacy And we really can be reminded that I am a legend. Right now, I'm a living legend. Okay. In this earth, I am a living legend. And, it's not an arrogant thing, because I'm not arrogant. But when you really start saying these things to yourself, you choose to live your life differently. You don't take your life for granted, and you don't just recklessly be out here just doing crazy stuff all the time. You don't just say, I'm just this way just because, my daddy was, and, this is just who I am. No, challenge who you are. Challenge that person, because you want to create something different and you want to do something different. So quickly, I'm just going to go over the 10 ways that you can build, or 10 powerful ways that you can build legacy. And the first way is serving with joy. Serve somebody. Serve with joy and humility. Not expecting anything in return. All right. Number 2, cultivate your gifts and your talent, your natural gifts and your talents. Cultivate your natural gifts and your talents and your crafts. So study on your craft more, read about your craft more, and be prepared. Number 3, seize opportunities that line up with your vision. No matter how big or small it is, go after and do things that line up with your vision. Go speak, go volunteer, whatever it is, do things that line up with your vision and build on those. Number 4, don't waste time on people who won't listen or who don't believe in your vision. Number 5, always try to showcase Always showcase your best self. Always showcase your best self. And we know that we have sides of us that's not our best, right? So always showcase the best version of yourself whenever you are speaking to people, whenever you are working, whatever you are, showcase your best self. That's how you start creating legacy in this world. Some days I don't feel like motivating. Some days I don't feel like being the best me. Some days I feel like going off, right? But I have to make a decision and choose to showcase my best self, right? So make sure you do that. Number 6, don't force it. Don't force legacy. Don't force it. Just go and make a difference. Choose to make a difference. Just do it. Don't force it though. Number 7, go hard for your legacy and your purpose, but don't burn yourself out. Okay. So I hope that this has helped you, and it's been very insightful and very inspirational for you, and tools that you can take with you and really start working on. The biggest takeaway that I love today, even for myself, that I said was forgiveness. Forgiving those people that have hurt you, really. And I just feel led to say that, like, really forgiving those people that have hurt you and done things to you. That is a legacy blocker that will block you every single time from doing exactly what God has created you to be. Release them from your heart, release them from your mind, release them from your from you being able to, from your life, and it's not to say cut people off. It's just release them. Okay. And sometimes those people come back around and you actually become a motivation to them. So thank you so much for listening to Level Up with Kia Baxter. Ways that you can contact me is I am Kia Baxter on Instagram. I am Kia Baxter on Facebook, and I am KiaBaxter.com. Thank you again. And until next time, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Level Up with Kia Baxter. I would love to stay connected with you. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at I am Kia Baxter. For upcoming events and products, visit my website at IamKiaBaxter.com.